Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is the Granada Europa League preview. Joining me, this is the one, as the Stone Roses said. Joining me, as always, is my good friend and colleague, Joe Smith. Joe, we're almost there, aren't we? It's almost another semi-final. Almost, but not quite.
Semi's on the way, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Feels like it, at least. Certainly in my house. I'm excited. 2-0, good start, but still plenty to do in this one. I think it's going to be one of those games where sort of underestimate them at your peril a little bit, because if they get a goal early, it's right back on. So United really need to play properly and to play well. And I think some of the complaints we saw last time about, or the time before the Milan game, the Sociedad game, playing a strong team even though we're 4-0 up, we're going to see a strong team this time, and I think we have to.
Yeah, 100%. This is live, of course, so do give us a like, get involved in the comments, let us know what you think about this game. Is it job done already? Can we rest on our laurels and rest some of our players? We are missing a few. We're going to get into our predicted 11s a little bit later on, but there was a few yellow cards dished out to players that were already on a yellow card from the Granada first leg. So we're missing, I think it's Maguire, McTominay, and a few others as well. Obviously, we've got a couple of injuries. We'll get into that a little bit later on. One player who... in fact, before we get onto the players, in terms of form, United's form of late, we obviously had that great win, didn't we, over Spurs, and a good win as well in the first leg of this tie against Granada. If you look there, I mean, FA Cup game against Leicester aside, it's been a pretty decent spell for United.
Yeah, it has. I think it's been a pretty decent spell since the West Brom game, really.
Yeah,
we beat City, and I know the result before this one was. In Europe, we obviously drew with Milan, but we won the tie, so that's all that really matters there. Obviously beating Leicester as well. Losing to Leicester, but beating Brighton as well, beating Granada, and then the Tottenham game was a big one at the weekend. Other than the Leicester one, which, how can you say other than the games we lost?
Other than the FA Cup that we're now out of.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we have turned it around a little bit. Some of that's coincided with Paul Pogba coming back. Some of that's coincided with, I think, a little upturn in form for Mason Greenwood in particular in that front line, because there was a point when I think Rashford didn't look his best. Obviously, Martial had been, let's be honest, pretty shocking all season. Cavani was injured. Greenwood wasn't quite looking himself either.
Yeah.
And it felt like it's 0-0 or 1-0. Like, that was how it felt watching Man United.
Yep.
But Greenwood's just come into the goals a little bit, and his performances have got better. Cavani's come back in, I thought was brilliant against Tottenham. Paul Pogba's come back in the team. We're just starting to piece it together a little bit at the right end of the season here for what could be a good push in the Europa League. And also, it's easy to rule out the Premier League because City are quite far ahead and everyone had decided they'd already won it. But... let's not rule out the Premier League either, because
mate, dare we?
8 points with 6 games to go. If it is that, if we win our games in hand, we've seen it too many times. So yeah, good run of form at the moment, and at the right end of the season as well. Perfect.
Absolutely. Get involved in the comments and let us know what you think about our run, about this game, how important it is, and whether we're going to miss those players that are suspended or injured. You mentioned Mason Greenwood, got obviously a well taken goal. The other day against Spurs, he's been performing well, hasn't he, recently? Not just goals. I think he's got 3 in his last 4 in terms of goals. He's been playing well in terms of scoring goals, but his performances have been a lot better sort of over the last few months than they were at the beginning of the season, where obviously he had a lot going on. There was the issues he had off the pitch as well. He lost a friend, I think, as well, which had affected him. And it felt like he was suffering from a little bit from second season syndrome. But his form's getting better, his performances are getting better, and it's great to see, innit? Young lad who we know is a huge talent performing to the sort of levels we know he's capable of.
Yeah, he's been a lot better, and I think that was sort of highlighted and exaggerated almost by how ruthlessly efficient he was against Spurs. Like, coming on, how long did he play? 20 minutes?
Something like that, yeah.
A goal, assist immediately, and not just I passed it to someone who was an open goal or whatever. People, I don't necessarily buy into the whole, well, it was just a 5-yard pass, so it doesn't count as an assist. But this wasn't that. This was a brilliant pass.
Is that a thing?
You should.
Really?
People used to do it about Bruno quite a lot. Stat padding assists, where it's like most of his assists are just 5-yard passes, and then Rashford goes past 6 men and scores. And you're like, that's first of all not true. Second of all, not his fault that his passes are passed to good players. And thirdly, if it was so easy, why aren't everyone getting 20 assists a season?
Do you know Beckham from the halfway line?
Yeah.
Shockey gave him the ball.
Yeah.
Shockey said to me, he couldn't miss for that pass.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Still an assist.
So people are like, yeah, he couldn't miss with that pass. But yeah, he's coming back into it, and like I said, that was a real quality assist that he made, and a real quality finish as well, going past his man and doing something that most players in the league can't do, which is take it onto your weak foot, still beat the man, still get enough power, still get enough accuracy, drove it past Lloris in the net on his supposed weaker foot, and not many people can do that. And the fact that he is doing that and he is coming and getting more goals at the moment is great. And it's not just the goals; he looks better outside of his goal scoring as well. So yeah, like I sort of mentioned a minute ago, it's a great time for him to be coming through with this form that we did see last season, so we know he can do it. And it might just be the difference between a semi-final and a trophy this time.
It's a shame for him, perhaps, more than some other players, that the fans aren't there. Because the likes of Cavani's played in front of fans. I know he's never done it for United, but he's played in front of fans his whole career. He's an experienced player. Marcus has been around for 6 seasons now, or 5 or 6 seasons, whatever it is. Lots of experience. Mason, he's had like half a season with fans, and then that's it.
Well, his best form was last season after we came back from lockdown.
Yeah, so
there was
no fans. So he's played the majority of his professional career without fans there. And it's a shame because, he's a young lad, still growing, still learning his craft. And, he'd be getting that lift and maybe that bit of a confidence boost he's needed when things aren't going his way from having 70,000 fans getting behind him. So it is a shame. But with that sort of talent, fans, no fans, we know what he's capable of. And he's been showing it recently. Get involved in the comments, let us know what you think about Mason Greenwood, about his form. Is he the main man? Is he going to be the main man this Thursday against Granada? Because we know we've got players missing, players that aren't 100%. It may well be down to Mason Greenwood, as Joe mentioned there. He came on against Spurs, so he's not just playing a full 90 this weekend, so that maybe indicates that he could start. Another player who I think is almost certain to start is Victor Lindelof, purely because Harry Maguire, I think, suspended. Eric Bailly is injured. Phil Jones doesn't count anymore, I don't think.
Sad.
I know it's sad.
He's also injured, by the way.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean? I don't want it to sound horrible.
Don't you dare insult Phil Jones.
I'm not insulting Phil Jones because I actually feel sorry for Phil Jones, but he doesn't count in a conversation about teams, does he?
Not really.
Even if he was fit, I don't think he does, to be honest with you. I don't even think you can risk him, and that's... I know it will be horrible, it's true.
Yeah.
Axel Tuanzebe may be a shout, but it looks like for a game that is still slightly in the balance, it's not like this is a 4-0 against Sociedad. Like you were saying, an early goal for Granada, we could be in a little bit of trouble. So Victor Lindelof is likely to start. What have you made of his season? Because he's always the one that everyone criticises or looks at, obviously because Harry Maguire's not going to get dropped, plus Eric Bailly's mint box office. It's easy to go, Victor Lindelof, he's not that good, or he's the weak link. What do you make of
that? I know he can make mistakes. Certain things that will be thrown at him as a mistake, like the goal against West Brom that we conceded, which when you put that in the context
just reminded me
of the full season, 99 times out of 100 that goal is disallowed because he's got his hand over his face and his mouth, he's clawing at him, pulling him out of the way, and yes, he should have been stronger, and yes, that is a weakness of Victor Lindelof, but that goal shouldn't have counted, and yet it goes down as an example of Victor Lindelof is weak. Victor Lindelof
you
isn't
pointed
good in
this
the
out
air.
the other week about the Sheffield United result when 2 goals that shouldn't have stood, or 1 goal that should have stood and 1 goal that shouldn't were wrong.
Yeah.
And people go, well, he should have won anyway. And it's like, we should have stopped it anyway. No, if a player's climbing on you, covering you, that's not allowed in the rules. So it's not his fault.
No.
You can criticise him for other things. You go, well, he should have done better anyway.
Yeah.
But he was fouled. You can't
hard
do that.
to say
Even
that.
without VAR, that was never a thing. And the referee should have seen it.
Yeah.
So, I get that one. I thought he was at fault for the Spurs goal.
Definitely, of course.
But over the course of the season, I think Victor Lindelof's played quite well.
Yeah, I do as well. I don't think he's a world-class, outstanding centre-back, someone that really is, one of the top sort of echelon of centre-backs in the world. But I don't think he's too far from, the next section down, the kind of... I think, and I've said this a few times, if you put him in Man City's team, or Barcelona's team, or Ajax's team, or any sort of ball-playing team, he would be sensational. A team with a better midfield in front of him. I think he's very good. He does remind me a little bit of Daley Blind at Manchester United, someone who people like to look back now and say, oh, wasn't he cool with his sort of long hair and his left foot? But at the time, a lot of people were massively frustrated with Daley Blind and sort of thought, oh, he's too soft, he gives the ball away, he can't be playing there. What's he doing there? He's only playing because he's Dutch. All that shit that you actually did used to hear all the time. But now people look back and go, oh, don't you miss Daley Blind because he's got a heart condition and he can pass the ball? Like, I liked Daley Blind at the time. But Victor Lindelof has a very similar feel to me where people talk about him being soft, not good in the air, etc., etc. Look at the pass he put on Rashford's plate in the last leg against Granada. And that's the third or fourth time he's done that this season. He's got a sensational passing range. I don't think, like I said, he's one of the real top class centre-backs in the world. But I think he's by far good enough to be a trophy-winning, successful centre-back. I think he's good enough to win the Premier League. I think he's maybe even good enough to win the Champions League. I don't think him and Harry Maguire will let us down in that regard. I think it's what's going on in front of them. I do think we could improve on him, but I think he's been underrated this season, and it's easy to criticise him because, like I said, he's a bit soft, and his weaknesses are the sort of traditional anti-British football where you got to be harder than that lad. That's kind of his weak side. He's not big, he's not hard, he's not good in the air, or he's not perfect in the air. But I think if we were from a different country or a different culture, he would be respected a lot more than he is, and I think he's a very good player.
No, I completely agree with that. I think if you watch Victor Lindelof and just sort of almost put to one side who he's alongside or anything that way, United, I just watch his performances for Manchester United. I think over the last few years, he's done well. I think that when in Jose's final season, he was one of the few players that played well for Jose Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Yeah. I think he had a decent season. I think he had actually a very consistent season. I think there was one game, I think it was against Brighton, where the entire team was a shambles. But other than that, by and large, he had a very good campaign. And I think it's easy to sort of look at him and go, A, he's a sort of remnant from the Jose era, and B, he's never he's not a big, massive money signing. He's not one that we all knew about before he came. I know we might have seen him a little bit. We didn't know a lot about him. He's not one that the fans were like, oh, we've got to get Victor Lindelof, so everyone, sort of got behind him. So he's always had that little bit of a few doubters, shall we say. But no, I think he perhaps does deserve a little bit more credit. And I agree with what you say. I think if he was in a top team, he'd fit in nicely. I don't think you'd be going, oh, look at the state of him in that City team or in that Barca team. I think you make a good point. And a lot of the time, one of the sort of issues that our defence has is we haven't got an out-and-out defensive midfielder. Most teams have that. Most of the top teams have someone who's sat in front of him. We don't have that, and our defence has to cope with it, and I think they do a pretty good job of doing so. With all that in mind, are you going to give me your preferred?
Well,
how are you doing it? Because you like to keep me on my toes with this, don't you?
With these sort of second legs, you never quite know what you're going to get.
I don't even know what I'm going to get with you now.
So this is a mixture of the two. This is as close to what I think Ole will play.
Right,
honestly.
okay. Right.
I'll give my reason as to why I think Ole will play this
team. So this is
your
predicted 11 then, right?
So I've gone with De Gea because I think it's, for me, pretty clear that he's our second choice and therefore cup goalkeeper now.
Yes.
So De Gea's in there. Wan-Bissaka, obviously. Lindelof, no explanation needed for those two. I've gone Axel, the only other fit centre-back we've got at the moment, I believe. And then Tellez as well.
Yep.
Also, McTominay, Maguire, and Luke Shaw, I believe.
Luke Shaw.
All suspended anyway, so none of those can play. Then I've got Matic and Van der Beek. I think it's a good balanced midfield, that, with the legs and the passing of Donny, and then the sort of slightly more hard tackling Matic alongside him. And then I've given Rashford a rest, quite crucially. I've gone Dan James on the left, Amad Diallo on the right. Bruno plays pretty much when he's fit down the middle of the number 10 role there, and then Mason Greenwood as the number 9 in front of him. I think that's a good balanced team. I think it's a very strong team, but one that is capable of winning this game whilst giving the likes of Van der Beek and Diallo much needed game time, and another game up front for Mason Greenwood, where I think he's looked good recently. And I don't think Cavani will start because he's still doesn't seem quite right in terms of fitness, although he was much better against Spurs. But yeah, that's what I think it will be, and that's what I'd quite like to see as well.
Someone raised this point in one of the chats the other day. Do you think we need to start giving Wan-Bissaka a little bit more credit in the same way we give Maguire credit for playing almost every game?
Definitely.
Like, it's almost like Wan-Bissaka doesn't get any credit for that.
No.
And it's like, we sort of, Maguire plays every game. You go, no matter what, he's available every game. He plays every game. And by and large, he plays well every game. Luke Shaw's come on, leaps and bounds. And I know, like, Wan-Bissaka, people can criticise him going forward. I get all that. But he plays practically every single game since he arrived.
Yeah, we don't even... all right, here's a question. Who is United's second choice right back?
You'd have to say it's it's one of maybe Brandon Williams, but he's not played.
But the answer is I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right.
He's so ubiquitous in that position. I don't even know who our second choice right back is.
No.
You don't ever question him. You don't worry about him. I think it was last week where I said he could do with the rest here, but we don't really even have a second choice right back. Which is like, at least with Harry Maguire, we've got Baye to come in, we've got Axel to come in. If Wan-Bissaka don't play, I guess it's Brandon Williams.
I'm guessing, but he's not
most
played,
of
has
his
he?
games left back, and he don't even play.
No.
So yeah, you've definitely got to give him credit. Someone said, Leighton Luke says, why are we giving players credit for being fit? Because most players aren't fit every week. It's like you're saying, why do we give players credit for putting their socks on? It's not because putting your socks on is easy. Staying fit for a full season isn't.
No.
As anyone who's watched football for like, multiple years will know.
The thing is, we all love Eric Bailly. Yeah. But he's not available. I mean, no, he's got COVID. It's not his fault, but he's had COVID. But he's injured a lot. Now, is Eric Bailly someone you can rely upon? I wish we could, but we can't because he's not fit enough. He's not. So when he's fit, yes, he can play and he plays well, but we can't rely on him for 50, 60 games a season because he just doesn't stay fit for that amount of time. Yeah. So it's all well and good going. What, you're just going to give him credit for playing? Well, yeah, because he plays week in, week out. And by and large, I think you can count on one hand a number of times where you go, Aaron Wan-Bissaka made a mistake for that goal. Yeah. It's going forward that is the issue with him. And, there's a conversation to be had there about how he needs to improve. But in terms of his defensively, he's probably the best defensive right-back in the world. Do you know what I mean? He's up there anyway. It's very, very rarely gets beaten.
Certainly one-on-one.
Yeah, certainly. I think if he could just add that other bit to his game, then we'd have an absolute gem. And also, you're right in the fact that if you're Luke Shaw, you've got Alex Tellez there. If you need a breather or if someone added a little bit of pressure to you or whatever, whichever way you want to look at it, there's an option there. If you're Aaron Wan-Bissaka, you're playing. You're playing. Dead rubber Europa, you're playing.
Tell it would be funny if you didn't pick Wan-Bissaka in your predicted lineup now after saying that. Should we see yours?
I'm scared. Yeah, I'm actually scared because my memory's that buff.
Hang on. It's the exact same as mine, you copying shit.
No, it's not.
Oh, Fred's in there. Sorry.
Thank you.
Right, I take that back. I swore. I raised my voice and I got angry. And I take that back because there is a difference in there. Sorry about that. I apologise.
It's okay.
To my,
I quite like the insult of you copying shit. It brought back memories of school.
It's very school, isn't it? Miss.
Yeah.
Justin's copied my test exam here.
What's said? Is that you again?
No.
Just come sit at the front.
No, sir. You've traced over it. You haven't even copied it. It's the exact same handwriting. You've traced this.
I just studied really hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Should we just talk about Fred because we've kind of done the rest, haven't we?
Yeah, like everything the rest of it's been covered. I've brought in Fred for you. You said Van der Beek. I think Ollie loves Fred. Yeah. He relies on him. I think with the fact that Maguire's not there, I think Rashford might not start. I think Ollie will want to play as many of his sort of favourites as he can. Obviously, no Luke Shaw as well. He would have been playing. So that's why I've gone for Fred. I'm like yourself, Bruno. Pogba, I still think you need to rest him where you can. That's why I've dropped Paul Labille because I think he needs a bit of a rest. And because of the lack of options, it's why I think Diallo's going to get a start. Dan James, I've got no qualms about him coming in and probably better off on the left-hand side. That's his preferred position. So, yeah, I'm with you, mate. I just, like I say, because you've got no Maguire, no Shaw, Rashford probably not going to play. I've just gone for Fred because I think that's one of his faves.
Liam Mangan makes a great point in the super chat. Fred is going to shoot about 8 times this game.
He's right.
He scored against Spurs.
Yeah. We've created a monster.
His first goal of the season.
Yeah.
I think it's his first goal since February last year, if I'm not mistaken. This is a man who cannot shoot for toffee.
But in his head anyway, he thinks he's like David Beckham but slightly better at shooting.
I don't know what's going through his head.
Like, I will never ever forget the last minute at the Etihad where if we score a goal, we go through. Or it's penalties, extra time.
Or penalties, yeah.
Yeah. And Mata, who has the second best free kick record in Premier League history behind David Beckham, he stood over the ball and Fred takes a free kick. And it's like, how can you be that deluded about your own football ability?
Incredible.
And now we've created a monster because he's just going to shoot all the time because he scored that goal.
Unless he'll go, you know what?
My work here is done.
My work here is done. I've done all I set out to do. Like, I know there's people who it's like, right, we spent 20 billion on this project, guys. We've been around the country, we've been up and down. We've put so much money, so many hours of our life, time, money, time, if we've changed just one child's life.
Yeah.
You're like, no, for that money and time, you need to have changed thousands of lives. Because otherwise, you were shit. Because there's loads of people who can spend 300 million quid and save millions or hundreds of lives.
Yeah.
If we've changed just one person's life, then you've failed. I think that might be Fred's motto, though. You know what? If I've scored just one goal this season, then my way is. It's like, no, you had 800 shots, which could have been spent on another person who's better at shooting.
And also, how many of those shots, like, they're not even on target? It's not.
You're
like,
not getting rebounds.
Yeah,
they're
it's
all
not
wide.
like someone else is running and tapping in it. Fair enough, but they're not. Like you say, they're all wide, and it's like it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I think. Anyway, Fred, come on, Fred, don't do it to us. You know, you've done your goal now. You've got your goal. That's there. Let's move on. Yeah. Let Bruno and let all them other donkeys do the shooting. You're better than that, son. Should we move on to Granada?
Yes.
They're not exactly tearing up the league. If we can just move the comments up a little bit there, I'll be able to see. So you can see there they've lost 4 of the last 5. We know they're a mid-table.
One of those, in their defence, was against Mulder, who they did beat over the 2 legs.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's like a game that doesn't count as much.
Yeah.
But you can see they're not exactly, an informed team. We know that anyway. The mid-table in the Spanish league.
Yep.
So by definition, they're very inconsistent and not that great. But this side is still in the balance, isn't it? Slightly. You can't go into this one thinking, job done. And like you were saying earlier, if they get an early goal, then it's going to be squeaky bum time.
Yeah, no matter who this is against, even if this was against, Norwich or the Aston Villa or any team in the bottom half of the Premier League, top half of the Championship, 2-0 isn't right. Let's pack the bags up. We've gone home. We've won.
Yeah.
Like we have to stay on this. And like I've said to you before, it's our by far the most realistic chance we ever winning a trophy this season. We could possibly win the league. There is potential for that if City have a meltdown. But generally speaking, this is the one. So why would we not play our full strength team or close to a full strength team? Why would we risk making 9 changes? Make 3 or 4, sure, but don't change the full team. And to me, that last 5 results doesn't really mean anything, because I think for them as well, this is their best chance of winning something this season. So they're going to go for it. Doesn't really matter about their recent form. We've got to go for it. We've got to put in a proper performance to beat them, because, like I said, if we're 1-0 down going into the 70th minute, anything could happen. Or if it's 0-0 at half time, anything could happen. There's no point risking it.
Ellie Goulding told us anything can happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about Granada. I can't barely remember any of the players from last time, but they had that lad who used to play for Spurs, don't they?
Roberto Soldado.
Yeah, he plays for him. Is he any good?
He wasn't very good at Spurs. He was pretty good at Valencia before that. And now he's got to be 50, 55 years old. 37 appearances, 11 goals.
Okay.
Yeah. What's that? What is that?
It's like, I'm sorry if you wanted a bit more insight and analysis about Granada, but, we're not them guys. We're going to be honest with you here. They've got some decent players, but we should be able to beat them. And, Soldado is a decent player, but even without Harry Maguire, I'd expect our defence to be able to cope with him. And they've got the lad Herrera in midfield who's quite useful as well. But again, I'd expect us to be able to cope with him.
Axel Tuanzebe dealt with Mbappe pretty well. I reckon he can deal with Soldado.
Mind you, we said that about Demba Ba, didn't we? That's the only thing.
Shut up.
Okay, I'm sorry. I better end it there. You give me them evil eyes. With all that in mind, with all that being said, sir.
All that being said,
what's your score prediction? Don't lie to me.
2-1 United. I think, like we saw the 0-0 against Sociedad, didn't we? It's going to be a lower intensity affair. I think if they try and push us, if they really go for it to get a goal, I think we'll beat them up on the counter attack. But don't expect it to be pretty, because I think that midfield won't keep the ball that well. I think without Pogba in the team, we do tend to turn the ball over quite a lot. So it might be a bit of a scrappy one. But if they come out, we'll beat them 2-1.
Do you know what? I've never, in all my years of doing this, both at Full-Time Devils and Stretford Paddock, gone for anything other than a United. Well, I've never gone for United loss. But I'm going to do it this time.
Really?
I'm going to go 1-0 loss.
Yeah, I could really see that. Just like a nothing
an
game.
Annoying we've got through, but that's a game I never want to think about again.
Wow.
Scenario.
Amazing.
I mean, we don't lose away, to be fair, and it would be pretty devastating. But it wouldn't be devastating. It'd be annoying.
It's at home.
Oh no, it's at home, like, innit? Yeah, there you go. Then we don't lose away, but we do lose at home. So yeah, there we go. It could happen.
Actually, though, do you know why we lose at home? Ollie's come out and said it today. Did you not say?
It's red in it. You can't see the red. The play. Where do you stand on that, right? Because I laugh at Jurgen Klopp when he blames the wind or the the players or the fans or the referees or the VAR or the length of the grass. I've already mentioned that, I think. Once or twice, you think this guy's an idiot. He's just chatting nonsense. But then when Ollie says that, do you think, well, that's a bit Klopp-esque? Or do you think, well, that is a fair comment? If you're looking up and you just see red and you can't pick a player out, is it fair?
The difference is Klopp says that in the post-match press conference after the game, why we lost.
Right.
Ollie is saying that we just beat Tottenham, no problem.
Yeah.
We're second in the league with a chance, an outside chance, but a chance of pushing City for first. He's not doing it out of we've lost. It's the colour of the seats.
Yeah.
He's not doing that.
Yeah.
It's like the players have told him, sometimes when we look up in a split second, I can't see if I've seen a player or the seats because of the colour's the same. So we're going to change it. No problem for me. It's not the same thing. If we'd have just lost against Granada, if we'd lost 3-2 or 3-0 against Granada, and he'd come out and said, we think it might be the colour of the seats. If he'd have done that, then you're like, Ollie, you're having a laugh here, but it's not the same thing, is it?
You too young, so you probably read it, seen anyway, the Southampton game where we changed our kits.
Yeah.
That awful grey kit. I had that as well.
I like that kit.
I think I wore it about twice.
I think it looks nice.
Gave it away.
You're like, I can't play in this. I can't see myself when I'm playing at five-a-side in this. Yeah, I don't think it's a problem. And they look into all these things, sports science and everything, the sounds, the smell. Like, they look into all of it. So it makes sense.
It's like
if you're looking
five-a-side
over
when
your
you've got bibs.
shoulder. Yeah, if you're looking over your shoulder and I've got another player coming towards me and I know I've got about half a second to turn and find a pass this way, and I turn and I just see red and I can't quite make out if it's Luke Shaw, if it's the seats or what, it makes sense that occasionally that would play a role.
He was that lad who passed to the advertising board that time. Do you remember?
No, I don't. I remember it happening. I don't remember who it was.
Sanchez, was it?
Maybe.
I can't remember.
But exactly.
Yeah, he's
possible.
We thought it was a player. So, yeah, it happens.
And Anthony Ellison Illustrator says, lost my dog in that kit. Put your dog in that grey kit. Never found it again.
That, regardless of whether it was affecting the players,
Rest
it was
in peace.
terrible. It was a terrible kit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was minging. Joe thinks we're going to win. I think we'll lose, but still go through.
Amazing prediction from you, Jay.
Let us know in the comments. Well, that was it. Renato Sanchez, I thought so. We were linked with him as well, weren't we? Do you remember? Let us know in the comments what you think the score is going to be. Make sure you're checking out the watch-along as well. Who's going to be here for the watch-along?
It's going to be me. It's going to be Adam McCullough. It's going to be Freddie Quinn, comedian extraordinaire,
Fantastic.
TikTok.
Hey, what more do you want? The TikTok celebrity that is Freddie Quinn. So do check that out. We'll be here for the Granada game, taking you all the way through that. That's been Joe Smith. You know where to find you. Joe Smith 93.
Joe Smith 93 on Twitter and Instagram.
And you know where to find me as well. I'll be Jay Meyer. This has been the Stretford Paddock Granada Europa League preview. Thanks for watching.